everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Dance Talk Realness, a podcast where we discuss all nuances concerning education and dance. We're your hosts, Truly and Daryl. Hey. And today we are bringing you tip 2 in our mini series, Making the Leap to Do More Beyond the Classroom. So, last week we talked about choosing yourself unapologetically. This week we are talking about research and reach out. So, the first thing, what exactly do you want to do? Let's start there because that is a real question. Child. So I know last episode, I definitely said it's okay to not know off the jump. That still stands. Like, it's okay if you don't know immediately. However, you should start thinking about it once you know that, okay, a shift needs to happen.
Right.
So is it that you just want like an outside creative outlet? Do you want to change occupation? Do you want to add on to what it is you're doing? Do you want to take things away? Like, start thinking about what it is you actually want to do. The time range on that is going to vary person by person. I'm always a fan of recommending don't drag it out.
Right.
Because the sooner you know what you want, the sooner you can really start digging further into researching.
Yeah.
You have anything you want to add to that one?
Yeah. I think, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think, not dragging it out. I think, having some type of, not so much, like not having a clear idea of what you want to do is okay for like that beginning process, or that beginning step, right? But, and I think we're about to talk about, that reach out, right? Like, do your research, do your research, take an inventory of your soft skills, right? Like, I think that's something that is really, important. I know when I was wanting to get out of education, I thought, well, what else could I do? All I've done is just teach high school and the dark years of teaching middle school for 2 years. And so I thought, I had also worked at a charter school. And when I worked at the charter school, I was a career and college counselor. I did some data entry, and I was doing like a couple of different things there. So, and then I think about like just my years of like customer service and, my background, knowing I have my dance degree, but I also have a health administration minor. So I was just thinking about all these things that I'm like, okay, what soft skills can I pull out of all those things that I can say I have experience on, that I can put on my resume, that isn't just that, oh, I've just been a high school teacher for, at that point when I was trying to get out, I think maybe like 5 or 6 years at that point. And so when you do that and you start to pick out those soft skills, I mean, really start to sell them in ways that are more than just an educator, right? Like, you've managed 120 plus bodies. Not many people in business world can say they've managed that many people. And then even think about it, and someone else had to tell me this, that you can multiply that by like 1.5, because you've also dealt with the parents of those 120 students, right? So you've managed to supervise that many people and organize that many people. Like, that's something that I think this just speaks volumes to the type of skills that teachers have that can translate into a different sector, a whole different career path or profession, that I know that sometimes we probably have a hard time, really thinking about that. I even think about the fact that I managed a budget for every year that I have had my dance programs, right? Like I've had to, balance all that out. And I think that that's something else too, that we don't think about, we're doing those kinds of things, just planning and organizing. And so, I think taking a good look at those soft skills and saying, what can I do? How can I use these in different places? Or even if the idea is still to be in dance, but just to do it in, for your own arts organization or your own dance company, or whatever you want to do, if you're looking to, maybe get funding or sponsors, looking for how to apply for grants. Like, I think it's just really good to just take an inventory of yourself, kind of going back to that, choosing yourself first. I think as you choose yourself, that inward look, or even looking at that resume, I think that's part of it.
Yeah. And very much to your point, I feel like people don't, like, as educators, we're never really told how to look at those soft skills and like really extract them from what it is we do. And that is super important. Like, there are so many things, like there's so many skills that we have that we just they're just part of our job, that when you can step back and really look at that skill by itself, it's like, oh shit. Yeah. Like you were just saying, like, I've never thought about that. Yes, no, I've managed hundreds of bodies. Like, organized a whole thing, right? Coordinated that whole thing.
And in corporate America, no one is managing that. Like, your team is like six people, 7 people, like that. You're managing that many people, and that's it. And with, like, maybe if you're, doing some type of planning or whatever, you're probably managing, let's say 5 or 6 projects, right? But like,
yeah,
like, I mean, I'm managing so many things within one class, right? I'm managing 6 or so, like, and when I say projects, I mean that not necessarily like projects in like the education sense projects, but I think even just managing how to, managing different curriculums at the same time, and the planning of those curriculums. I think, whatever outside of your, just being a team player within your school has, different things, whether you're a department chair. And you know what I mean? There's several different things that we juggle in one thing. And I think that, like you said, I don't think many people understand how to really extract those things out of the job.
Yeah. And it's a valuable skill to have, is to be able to really look at those skills that you utilize on a regular basis, that to someone else it's like a big deal, but like to us, we're just like, oh yeah, no, I'm like, I can't not do that. Like, I have to manage them. Like, I have to balance that budget. Like, if I don't handle that, that's just not going to get done. And I need things to like run smoothly. So all the things that to us are just, simple in a way that it's like, we just do them. Those are actually major skills to other people, like actually a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, I think the amount of problem solving skills and techniques that teachers have, it's probably one thing that's so hard to put on a resume outside of, and like really showcase it outside of teaching. But where I see it the most is, I think, and I'll say this to the day I die, I think educators who become administrators, or dance educators that become administrators, you can just kind of see how well they organize and plan and do things in different ways from other people who might have, no offense, that might have taught math and then became an administrator, or taught, it's almost like just the way we function in the arts where we're always on that island by ourselves, right? And so we function, we're self-starters, right? We're self-motivators, right? You don't have to tell us how to do or what to do. We always know because we have to be 3 steps ahead to really plan for something. And we're perfectionists, just by craft. So it's like everything has to be done with such detail, right? And I think that's sometimes where you find a lot of people get frustrated with administrators, because sometimes they put things out and it's like, well, what are the details? What's like the meat and bones of all of this? And it's like, you don't get it because they don't know how to do that. So anyhow, I went off on a tangent.
Right.
But on personal, but like, I think, it's just, there's such a great, that's the problem solving thing. So I think that is one that just educators in and of itself are just great problem solvers. And
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. All right. So next point is, do you know someone that's already there, wherever there may be? Mm-hmm. And if you do, reach out to them. Do not reinvent the wheel.
Right.
If you know somebody who is doing something that you're like, yes, I'm interested in doing that, or even if it's just I'm interested in learning more about it to see if that's what I want to do, reach out to them, especially if you know them personally. So like I get because I'm like stranger danger. If it's somebody who I'm like, I know of you, but we're not like associates or friends, then I might be a little like, I don't really want to reach out. No, that's okay. No. But I'm like, if you my whole ass friend, like I've known you, child, I'm calling, texting, shooting an email, smoke signal, something like, hey, can I ask you a question about this? Related to that, might be a slight tangent, but related. In the event that said friend, their advice is part of their actual business, fucking pay them. Yo.
Yeah.
Like, just because we friends don't mean that services are free. Everybody's trying to like pay their bills too. Like, hard stop. Pay people. I think that has always been an odd place for me, that I've never wanted to reach out to friends that are in the field to offer services, because some people are just really funny about it. I am one who people always ask me for my thoughts on things and ask me for advice and how did I troubleshoot this. And I'm like, technically this is a fucking consultation. I should be charging for this. And I don't, and I hate that I don't. And so I'm like dead ass about to just stop doing it and be like, but actually, if you don't mind going to my website real quick fast.
Right.
Sign up for this here consultation. That'll be great. I got you.
Yeah.
But I've had friends, former classmates, former students who I'm like, oh, this is part of your business? All right. Where's your page? How do I sign up? Because I want to work with you. Like, just out of just straight respect, that I'm like, if I'm saying I care about you as a friend, then I'm not going to ask you to go broke for me. Like, I'm going to pay you, and I'm going to pay you your full price. If you decide to offer me the discount, that is one thing. I'm not going to encourage you to, though. I'm like, no, whatever it costs is what I'm paying, because those are your prices. Like, this is your actual source of income. I struggle doing that because I know, well, whatever. I'd be messy anyway. So the reason I struggle with it is because I know I have a lot of associates, friends, whatever we're calling them, that if I am like, okay, actually, that is a consultation, my usual fee is this, they're going to get a pissy attitude. They're not going to speak to me, and I'm just going to be like, all right, and now we're down a friend. But then also kind of low key, I'm like, but were you my friend for real,
Right.
or nah?
Right. Or even if there should be like a barter system, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, hey, if we're gonna have this relationship, you know, obviously we have this friendship, but if we also on the side need to have like a secondary relationship that is, you know, you're really going to utilize my knowledge and experience for, you know, professional advice, like, then, you know, I need you to choreograph for me, dance for me. You know, then, you know, there needs to be some trade-off. And not that it has to be like, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's I scratch my back, you know, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think in that, you know, granted, I feel like, side note, dancers and artists should be paid fees, right? Like, I don't want to negate the fact that, you know,
Yeah.
we do not just work for the favor system, barter system. However, I think if you have a friend that you're like close to, then yes, then maybe that could be something where you feel like, you know, I'm not trying to dip into your pocket, or, you know, I don't want you to get an attitude with me about it, but like, you know, how can we have a relationship where we're both feeding this new relationship, this secondary relationship where, you know, we're both giving and receiving, and it doesn't always feel like I'm just giving. And then you're just taking, right?
Yeah.
You know, stranger on the street, hey, go to my website, here are my prices.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give you all the advice and experience that you need. Friend, maybe, you know, if you wanted to be a little bit nicer and say, hey, sure, let's sit and talk about this, and, you know, maybe we can also discuss some other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, but I mean, you know, especially, yeah. And that's like with, you know, asking someone to be like a mentor, right? You know what I mean? Like, really to kind of help guide you, right? In like whatever direction that you're trying to go. And, you know, I think even just having just acknowledgement, right? Like some type of acknowledgement, or some type of like, just awareness that, like, obviously I did not, this journey, this path that I was on, I did not get here by myself. I got here just definite because I was consulting other people along the way. But, you know, I don't think anybody's dance journey beyond, you know, teaching, I don't think anybody can say they did it themselves and didn't ask for anyone's help or guidance. You know, I just had a long conversation with a friend about a month ago, who has a dance studio, but, you know, for whatever reason, just isn't, not that he's not happy with his studio, but just wants more, right? Just really wants more out of the experience. And some of it has to do with still, you know, with dance. Some of it has to do with like turning his studio into something that's a little bit more community based. That's more like, where there's like activities and cooking and like people that come and, like, you know, the studio space is more than just dance happens there. And I think that that's such a really cool thing, you know. And you know, once again, going back to our last episode of like choosing yourself, and then coming to this episode and you know, doing the research and really reaching out and asking for that help, right? I think just, yeah, it's all just valuable, just a valuable process that, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I'll come back. It'll come back. I started going on a tangent, and then
it'll circle back
somewhere, and it'll circle back to me eventually. But yeah.
But to that point, the next point is, if you don't know anyone, do the research though.
Right. Yeah.
Like, actually look stuff up.
Yeah.
And so, personal, I did not do the research at all. Raggedy. Did not do it. And like, yes, things worked out. They did work out in my favor. However, it could have been a much smoother process had I done some of the research. And part of not doing that research ties into what we talked about last time in the dealing with, choosing myself and battling imposter syndrome, that I was like, oh, well, I'm not sure that I can handle it. I don't know. And so I shied away from really looking into, especially once I knew what I wanted to do, I still shied away from it. Right. And, again, yeah, it worked out, but life could have been so much easier if I would have did the damn research.
Yeah.
It just really would have been a better situation. I would have been better prepared for a lot of things walking into my first time teaching a college course. Like, yes, I'd done workshops at the college level before, but that is not the same as just being up in the space teaching these people. It's the same K-12 that, a lot of us have had the opportunity to either guest teach at a studio or guest teach someone else's classes. But that is different from when you got this same group of kids that you got to be in front of all the damn time. It's just like, oh, wow, I actually kind of needed to have this together. I can't, I am a good one for flying by the seam of my pants. I am good for it. But also I'm just because I'm good at it don't mean I should be doing it.
Right.
And research would have saved me from a lot of moments of, okay, we just gonna finesse this whole hour and a half.
Right.
And then we'll just be prepared next time. It's no, do the research up front. So when things come up, you're like, okay, I've already looked into this. You have a better chance of reducing your stress. Of course, you can't prepare for every single variable, but to at least reduce how many things could go left, do the research.
Yeah.
Save yourself that extra, because nobody wants to do that damn research in the middle of a semester. Nobody wants to do that.
No.
Trust me, if you've never been in that position, you don't want to do that to yourself. It is not worth it. I always say it in therapy. I'm future me be mad as hell at present and past me all the time. Future me is always mad. Just be why didn't you do this then? We don't want to do this right now. And it's sorry. But when this shit gets done, it's okay, maybe I didn't have anything planned for this situation. However, I know I have these other things in place. So I'm not juggling a whole bunch of stuff. It's just this one thing that I couldn't even fathom coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that you don't want to get to a situation where you're planning I think sometimes with certain big major career life changes, right? There are moments where you are in the middle just figuring it out and just going with the flow, right? And that's inevitable. It's going to happen. But of course, we know there are always, just talking about foundational stuff. There's just always foundational things that you should probably, like you said, know before going into things. And that's really where that, you don't want to be doing that kind of research in the middle or after you've already, made the decision and you're in it, right?
Yeah.
Those quick kind of okay, I'm kind of just going with the flow happens. But yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be everything.
Right, exactly. It shouldn't be should I have done this?
Yes. Man, because there was one course that I promise you, teaching it, I was y'all should not have given me this course. I don't know what I'm doing. And I had told myself, I was okay, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to take classes. I'm going to get brushed up on it before I have to teach it. And I ain't do none of that.
I know, right.
And I showed up and I was oh, this is about to be a whole shit show for a semester. And I was yeah. So it was I was always just one class session ahead. which is stressful.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated it so much. I low-key kind of did it a little bit this past semester. I just gave up at some point. I was tired. But I will say at least, for example, like the jazz class. By a little bit after midterms, I was like, y'all, look, my own papers are due at this point. I am tired. I don't want to do this no more. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm off of this. Like, y'all gonna have just thoughts and prayers, guys. Good luck. I hope you pass.
Yeah.
And the good thing is I have enough fundamental knowledge of jazz to be all right. That as things would pop up, I'm like, okay, I don't feel like dealing with it, but I can deal with it because everything else is in place. And this was just a random variable versus that other class that I was teaching. And I was like, I have no background in this.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, guys. Freestyle because I don't know.
Yeah.
And so definitely preparing yourself as much as you can. And that's just a education thing also. You know, I'm like, people don't be talking about that part of it. It's like, no, like lesson plans. I hate lesson plans. I hate doing them.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of a bullet list that I'm like, let me prepare as much as possible. But I also know, like you were saying, like sometimes you're going to have to deviate.
Yeah.
Like something's going to come up that you're like, all right, well, I thought we were doing this today, but we're not. So now we're here.
Right.
All right, let's figure this out then. But having some foundation makes it easier to veer off than it does to have none. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that you know, even going back to what we talked about last time, like taking that time to like have those, like, I know I need to leave, but I don't know what yet, is okay, right? But I think whenever you are doing that research has to really be in that foundational, like, once again, pulling those soft skills, once again, really like figuring out like what it is that you really want to do, right? How do you, you know, and I think, you know, how do you really take the inventory of what it is that you want to do different, and what will serve you, right? Because I think a lot of times, you know, for me, whenever I was ready to leave, right, like I really didn't know what was going to serve me next, right? Like I couldn't really fathom that. And sometimes like that is really when you can't fathom that, and that still all goes back to that imposter syndrome, right? Like when you can't realize that, then it's really hard to just job search that kind of stuff, right? Because you're just like, well, I don't really, like, nothing will speak to you because it's not anything that you've done before, right? So then comes the reach out part, right? So, you know, it's like getting an opportunity just to pick someone's brain and getting the opportunity to find out what people's foundational paths were, because we're all different. And even though your path was yours, is going to be different from someone else's, even if they were to follow your playbook verbatim.
Yeah.
Things are just gonna turn out different, right? And so, yeah, you're gonna have to still, even if you reach out to someone, there's still that research that you still are going to have to do to just make sure that it fits and works with whatever it is that you're doing. So.
Yes, very true. Very true. Yeah. And other things to consider. What would the workload shifts be? What would like hours be? Like working, prepping. Is there any additional training needed? So when you're doing your research, you want to look at as many aspects as possible. Same with when you reach out. You want to ask as many questions as possible to get as fully rounded a picture that you can. So you're not just kind of jumping in blind when you don't have to. There will, again, of course, always be instances where, oh shit, I didn't ask this question, or, this thing came up and I never even thought about asking about this. But again, you want to put yourself in as good a position as possible to be as informed as possible. So there are fewer things that can catch you off guard.
Right.
And then the last point is don't be scared to switch lanes. So that could be a change of career paths. That can be just changing your mind if your heart isn't in it anymore. So that one is another hard one for people because we kind of get taught to not change lanes a lot. It's like, okay, you said you're going to do this, stick it out. And while I am very much an advocate for, perseverance and follow through, sometimes when you know that, look, this is not it, let that go. Because the time that you're wasting on this thing that's not for you could be spent on the thing that's supposed to be for you. So you're wasting time, you're wasting energy, you're wasting effort, you're wasting brain power, you're wasting like emotional stability. Like you're wasting all of that when you could just be like, you know what? Yeah, it sucks to cut these ties, but also I'm gonna go ahead and cut those so I can be over here where I'm being fulfilled, where I'm being appreciated, where I'm being valued. Side note, that's just a fucking life lesson. Take that as you will. Take it into your personal life. Don't be somewhere that you're not appreciated.
Right.
Don't be somewhere that you're miserable. Like, don't be scared to leave those places. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Like sometimes it's an easy jump ship and sometimes it's like there's a whole process involved. But if you are able to switch lanes, switch them. Career-wise, I know, because I had a moment where I was like, well, maybe I don't want to teach dance anymore. I mean, maybe I just want to be completely out the field. That didn't work out. I was like, there's really nothing else I want to do besides be a kept woman. So unless somebody gonna be out here paying for all my living expenses, then I'm like, you'll be in somebody's classroom teaching something. Going back over there. But that also has always been what I said I would do since I was like, around 7, 8. And it's like, oh, what do you want to be, a teacher? And like what I wanted to teach changed. So subject matter changed, but me wanting to teach never changed. I always wanted to educate. And so it wasn't necessarily a full career path change. It was just more of like we're just going to switch to this lane, but we're still on the same highway. So like I'm still on the Beltway, but I moved over a lane. So it's just like, okay, like we're still in this realm.
Yeah.
And it's okay to change your mind when you don't want to be there. And that, again, it's a relationship thing, y'all. Also, hint, hint, wink, wink. Spare yourself. It is okay to be like, you know what? I thought this was going to work, and it's not. And there's a difference between acknowledging that something is not meant for you and moving on and just fucking giving up. Those are two different things.
Correct. And it's all in how you leave. It's all in how you decide to make that exit, right? And that's important. Yes.
It's like, and the reason why you are leaving. Like, am I leaving because it's hard and I don't want to do the work? Or am I leaving because it's like, oh, this is not a good fit. Like, this is not fulfilling. It is doing more detriment than good. Because like there have been many a time that it's like, okay, this shit is hard. However, I am still fulfilled doing it. I know I'm supposed to be here. I don't like this piece of it,
Right.
But I know in the grand scheme of things, this is where I'm supposed to be. The PhD program is that situation in my life currently that I'm like, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this no more. That is my energy right now towards this. I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired. It's hard. I don't want to read no more. I don't want to research no more. I don't want to write nothing else.
Right.
Like, I'm tired. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, but y'all gonna call me doctor though.
Right.
So we gonna suck this on up and we gonna get it done. The same with writing this course syllabus I need to write in the next week. That I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I don't feel like it. Like, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, but this is information I really want the kids to have. Like, I really want my students to learn about this, and I want them to have this experience. And I know I'll enjoy it once I get past this part of it.
Right. Exactly.
So it's definitely how you're approaching it and what your intent is behind the shift. You know, very much don't be scared of something being hard. Because if everything was easy, then everybody would be doing all the things.
Right. Yeah.
But also know when to cut your losses.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, that's a very personal, like, you have to know for you what's going to work and what's not.
Right.
But definitely want to reiterate, there is a difference. A huge difference between I'm just giving up on this and I tried and this actually was not the thing. This was not the move
for me. Yeah.
Let me readjust and recalibrate.
Right.
All right. So recap.
Yeah.
So today's tip was to research and reach out. What exactly is it that you want to do? Really try to nail that down. Don't drag that process out. Again, there's no set time limit. We're not going to say, okay, well, you need to know within a week of deciding you want to do something else that you need to know. But you do want to, as quickly as is reasonable, figure out what it is that you want to do or that you want to try to do so you can start making plans and steps towards achieving that. Mm-hmm. Do you know somebody who's already there, wherever there may be, for what it is you want to do? And if you do, reach out to them. Don't know anybody there? Do your research. And you should do the research either way. Mm-hmm. But if you have a resource, use your resource. If you don't, then you really need to dig in and try to get as many answers as you can. Don't forget to consider things such as what would the workload shift look like from what you are currently used to? What would the hours be? Like, consider the hours that you would have to work. Consider the hours that you would have to prep to work. People really be leaving out them prep hours. And I'm like, no. That takes up part of your life. And unless you are moving into something where prep is a part of the job, that prep is happening outside of those work hours. So you want to be aware of that. And don't forget to also see if there's any additional training you might need. In some instances, you might need another degree. You might need a certification. You might need a different license. So just be aware of some of those shifts. And then don't be scared to switch lanes. Don't be scared to change career paths or change your mind if your heart is no longer in it. But make sure that if you're changing your lane, make sure you're changing it from a place of it's genuinely the right choice to change, as opposed to you're just giving up.
Right.
All right. Awesome. Thank you all for joining us yet again here at Dance Talk Realness. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe across all the places where you can find us. If you have any questions, comments, observations, be sure to hit us up. Let us know what you think. And we look forward to bringing you tip number 3 next week. We'll see you then. Bye.